bad information ain't disinformation, that's disinformation. Gotta know the difference in information, get information. With the pseudo-killer army hunting pseudo, cause you gotta train your mind to fight against them pseudo-judo. People with the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But the people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those like telescope. If you ain't speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro, what the proof of? Good choo-choo chillin', why you wanna go way bad choo-choo up? Shalom boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa world plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come in Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy. Make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks, cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo-killer. I'm a pseudo-killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo-killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo-killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo-killer. I'm a pseudo-killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo-killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo-killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy.
We're not attacking individuals, we're attacking the information and attacking the methodology. This is a long time coming right here. Let them know that we right there, running neck and neck with all other communities. We will not be left behind.
All right, let's get this show started. I had to wait till some people get in here. You feel me? This is about to be the good one. We got a little special edition of the Brain Show. Shout out to everybody joining us right now. Y'all, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't done this so long, I forgot how to do it, but here we go. Yeah. Well, welcome to another episode of The Brain Show. I know it's been a while, but we decided to do this particular show because we've literally been planning it for like 6 months. Something like that. Either way, we're going to get it done today. No more delay. For me, this is a very important topic. This is one of my things that I advocate for, and advocating for children, because I've seen it with my own eyes, the abuse that we can cause in our children. And, you know, I've also understood that some people don't even recognize it as such. So, because I know a little bit about it, I don't want to cover this subject myself, but I do have a really good friend. I've known him for quite a while. I think before he even was in college or just started, but he's graduated now. So yeah, we actually almost used to work together. Not quite. He was like right across the walkway. We both worked. He worked at Olive Garden. I worked at Bomber Breeze, and the restaurants were like this. And they used to always come over to Bomber Breeze, you know, to get the little drink on, just chill after work. So yeah, we became, you know, acquaintances and things like that then. But this young gentleman's doing some amazing work. He's actually doing the work that I wanted to do when I was just getting out of college, starting out. But I've seen his videos. I've seen how he delivers this information. He is very, very knowledgeable on it, and he's young and bright, and I love that because he is getting into the science. So, without further ado, I introduce to you all Mr. Gabriel Hannas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. Before I get started, well, we are going to get started. I do have some awesome questions for you, but I guess I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the audience, expound a little more on who you are and what you do, educational background, all that good stuff, because we are the PseudoKillers, so we got to keep it legit. I don't want nobody talking about bringing pseudo on the panel, But that's my friend. So let the audience know who you are, the indomitable Black man.
Hello, everyone. I am Gabriel, also known as the Indomitable Black Man throughout social media. I am an ESD teacher. My degree is in exceptional student education. I am also a registered behavioral technician where I have about a decade of experience working with kids with special needs and disabilities, up to and including things like Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, specific learning disabilities, neurotypical, neurodivergent. I work with them all. I've worked with kids from infancy up to 22. That is my background. I'm looking to go into my graduate program for neuropsychology, which I've been studying extensively to prepare. Let me tell you, there's a lot in there.
I already know.
But that's me. That's who I am.
So you do this thing. So, of course, I've seen you in action on your social media platforms. I don't know if the hyperlinks really connected because you're not on YouTube, and I haven't figured that out yet. But if you want to find him, okay, I'll fix that. I'll go back and fix that. But in the meantime, I'll probably drop your links in the chat when I get some quiet time. But he goes by the Indomitable Black Man. You can find him on YouTube. Is it on YouTube that way too?
Yes, all of my social media is the Indomitable Black Man.
So I know for sure you can find him on YouTube, find him on Instagram, and you can find him on TikTok. TikTok is at one of his biggest platforms that I've seen. He has lots of followers, but he does like these mini workshops on his shows, and I think it's pretty awesome. His ability to walk people through this and helping people understand what it means to gentle parenting and what those techniques look like. And hopefully today he'll be able to demonstrate some of those techniques as we go. So Marcus, did you want to say anything before we just go ahead and get into the questions? And I have a few questions. I don't know if I'm going to ask all of them, but after we get some questions, I'm going to let you have some time to give some scenarios. I think some of the questions will help spark those scenarios because some of those questions are culturally specific. So yeah, we'll get through that. But Marcus, did you want to say anything before we get to any questions?
I just like to thank everyone who's tuning in. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all stopping by. I think this is enjoyable. I think y'all will enjoy this conversation. Hope y'all can take something away from it, learn from it, build from it, and hopefully improve at least expand your thinking with it. So that's all I wanted to say. I got a few questions, but I'll let you go first.
Ooh, how many you got? Because I probably got more than you.
I only got 5.
Okay. We'll alternate. Okay. And I'm a woman, so I'm gonna go first. Off bat, what is it that made you want to be this advocate for gentle parenting? It's my first question.
Huh. So, fun fact, I did not actually want to work with kids. I was initially in school for biomedical sciences. I was going to go into infectious disease and oncology research. That was my
Ooh.
plan since I was a child. I love anything to do with parasitology, infectious disease, cancer, whatever. And well, life happened and I wound up homeless. And when I wound up homeless, I needed a job. And one of the job opportunities that was presented to me was working as a registered behavioral technician. So I jumped in, did my 40 hours, got my certification, worked with my first kid. From there, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is it. This is what I need to do. I love it. And I have been doing it since. I'm not acting right now as an RBT because I was a teacher. But when I tell you, you can't lose the information that you had. So that's kind of when I started working with the kids, I started seeing education as it is. When I started seeing how children were being affected in school, along with my own school experience, being somebody that's neurodivergent myself, I started to realize there's nobody advocating for these kids in the way that needs to be, the way they needed to be advocated for. It's a very niche system, the education system. And so if you don't fit in that niche, you kind of get left out or just fall through the cracks. So I decided to be the person that kids can rely on, that parents can rely on, that teachers can rely on, that administration can rely on to help the students that are falling through these cracks. So that's kind of when I became who I am now. That and I also blew up on social media. So, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand.
Chilumwe.
Let me ask you to define. This is not one of my 5 questions either, Juju. Define
Cheater.
What exactly gentle parenting is versus other types of parenting that may be around, or that may exist. Let's start with that.
Okay, so there are 4 parenting styles. Now, it's not just limited to 4. There are nuances of each, but there are 4 main parenting styles. You have authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and neglectful. With those 4, they're kind of like on a coordinate plane where you have a couple different metrics that we measure parenting styles. So if you have authoritarian, that's high expectation, low responsiveness. That's where it's, I need this done. I'm not going to give you any help and you're going to get it done. That's what that looks like. That's the old school form of parenting. That's the tough love, children are seen, not heard type of parenting. Then you have authoritative, which is commonly referred to as gentle parenting or conscious parenting. That is high expectation, high responsiveness. That is, my expectation for you is up here, but I'm going to help you reach that. That is the teaching you through expectations, boundaries, consequences, the like, right? Then you have permissive. That is low expectation, high responsiveness. That is, little Billy, stop putting your hands on people. You better stop it. I'm going to count to 3. Up, 1, 2. You better stop. It's making the child not have to reach towards anything, and you help them reach their mediocrity. That's what that looks like. It's letting kids run all over you. And then you have neglectful parenting where the parent just ain't there. Where is he? I don't know. He's not there. That's the parent who's playing video games more than they're raising their children. So the kids are growing up without having skill sets. In the 3 authoritative or authoritarian, permissive, and neglectful styles of parenting, there aren't a lot of skills being taught versus authoritative or gentle parenting where those skills are being taught. They are being practiced. They are being built upon. That's where you're seeing a lot of the growth. So that is what gentle parenting is in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Gosh, doing so much multitasking. Boy, I have so many good questions. What would you say to a parent who feels that traditional discipline, timeout, spanking, strict consequences was how they were raised and they turned out fine? Because I hear this all the time. Well, my mama used to whip me with a, extension cord. I used to have to go get my own switch, and I turned out fine.
I tell them, if that's where your standard is, that's what you want to be, mediocre, fine, be that. If you want your children to amount to something greater, then don't do that.
Right.
Let's think about the stuff that you do as somebody who's fine. I know a lot of fine people out here who are hooked on pick a narcotic. I know a lot of fine people out here who are hooked on alcohol, who are out here sleeping around with random people, catching any manner of STI. I know people out here who have 5,000 and 6,000 different kids because they're trying to fill a void that they didn't have when they were kids. And all of it can be traced back to ACEs, or aversive childhood experiences.
Yes.
So are we trying to be fine, or are we trying to thrive? Because life is too short and eternity is too long for us to just be fine when we can thrive and be better than what our parents were. That's the first thing I tell them. The second thing I tell them is this. Did you know this started in slavery and serfdom? Like, y'all really out here just trying to continue like the traditions of people who kept us in chains? Like, for real? Like, that's what y'all want to do? Because you're fine?
Right.
What? No, that's weird. That's weird. That's how I feel about
think
that. That's
it's
what
weird.
I'm
Sorry, Marcus. I want to expound a little bit, Marcus. You make this statement a lot, and I love it. You say beating your children is the whitest thing you can do. Explain that statement.
So first off, that didn't even come from me. That came from the illustrious, the phenomenal, the fine Dr. Stacey Patton. When she said that, I think she works at Howard right now. Okay. She said the whitest thing you can do is beat your kids. And it's true, because we do not have evidence of ritualistic corporal punishment in West Africa or the Americas prior to colonization. And that has to be distinct. We have to get that part. We were not beating our kids prior to colonization. That was not a thing that we did. A lot of indigenous nations talked about how crazy it was that the European colonizers were beating the hell out of their kids, mistreating them. They used to nail children's ears to pikes. The Spartans used to beat the hell out of their kids as a show of strength. Yeah, it made good warriors because they were too traumatized to do anything else, but it also made people very compliant. So if you want to continue that serfdom slave mentality where you are specifically creating kids to obey you, then keep doing what you're doing. If you want them to be assimilating into an authoritarian framework, do it. Absolutely. If you want your kids to be something better and you want to actually honor your ancestors and the people who were murdered for you to be where you are and to continue going forward, don't do that. Do something different, because it is very European to do that. It is not us that started that, and we should not be continuing that trend. It's literally torture, and it's literally destroying our communities. I said what I said. Dije lo que dije.
I heard that. Chilembwe.
From what I understand, gentle parenting at times involves complex emotional languages. So I want to ask you this question. At what age do you believe children can fully grasp and benefit from the complex emotional languages often used in gentle parenting styles?
Excuse me, can you give me an example of that complex language?
Yeah, give me 1 second. It's like when you try to begin to like acknowledge a child has a breakdown or having a breakdown, and you trying to get him to express some of those emotions and feelings they have, but the complexity of them, it can be sometimes beyond what they can grasp. So at what age do you think that those type of complexities begin to express themselves in children?
I mean, they express themselves. We big feelings, and they'll have those big feelings like 1, 2. They're gonna come out. Gentle parenting, it starts then to prepare them for identifying those emotions, recognizing those emotions, communicating those emotions, but you're not going to see them become proficient in it until they're about like 3 or 4. If you're doing it consistently, if you are having those conversations with them consistently, and if there is no developmental delay that they're experiencing with communication. But all of the kids, even if a baby can do baby sign language, baby ASL, they can do signs that convey their emotion. That's kind of part of it. But the other part of that is being able to translate for the child, right? So for me, I can hear a baby cry and know exactly what they want because they have a different cry for each need that they have. A part of gentle parenting is recognizing the development of that child, recognizing the way they specifically communicate, and then meeting that need, being that prefrontal cortex and speaking for them, being their translator to meet their need. Because all they know how to do is, I feel something, I don't know what to do with it. This is the only way I know how to get it out. If you understand that child, if you've seen how they communicate, you kind of can anticipate what they're thinking, and you can say, is this how you're feeling? Is this what you're going through? Okay, well, this is what we do with this emotion. And it doesn't have to be like a long, drawn out conversation. Oh, buddy, use your words. How are you feeling about? No, it can be just something like, you look mad. You're upset, aren't you? This is what we can do. It can be so short, sweet, and to the point, because they're gonna lose 90% of what you're saying anyway. So it's just about having the words to say in that moment that they understand, because you've already been working with them on understanding that language, on how to speak or communicate their frustration. It's kind of that simple.
Thank you, Juju.
Did I explain that right?
You did good.
Okay. Let me know if it's somehow. Okay.
No, they got the gist of it. You have to begin early and be consistent with it, so they'll get in the habit of being able to express what they're feeling and emotions more comfortably,
exactly,
and with a full range of feelings. One of the things that kind of gets blended is shame, disgust, and anger, right? So sometimes children have difficult times deciding, or at least, compartmentalizing those differences at times, you know what I'm saying? At
right,
least when,
absolutely.
So helping them understand that early on can have better results later on in life.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Go ahead, Juju.
So, and you can give us scenarios too in these questions, okay? If you like to go further on how you do that, if you're talking to a parent and they have these issues, okay? So I'm gonna kind of combine 2 questions, and you can kind of pick how you want to answer that, which one you want to choose, but they're similar. The first question is, does gentle parenting create children who are emotionally fragile or unable to handle diversity? And the second one, which is related, is like, how do you balance validating a child's emotion and still also teach them how to be resilient?
I have ADHD, so you're gonna have to say that again at some point, and that's okay. So the first one, you said, basically, does gentle parenting make soft kids?
Yeah, or unable to handle, adversity. Soft, fragile, timid.
Right. Oh my God, I'm triggered. So here's what it is, because everybody says that. I just made a video about it. No, gentle parenting does not make soft kids unless you're doing it wrong. Everything that gentle parenting tries to teach, at least what I teach, is that everything is a skill. You have to teach a skill. One of the best things about gentle parenting is that it teaches independence by letting kids. Natural consequences are my favorite, right? Okay. I love a natural consequence. If I tell you not to do something, but you are hell-bent on doing it, baby, I'm going to let you do it. Because I can't teach you at that point. Experience will teach you, and I will let it teach you. But a lot of parents are like, no, I don't want, get down from there. Don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Baby, let them. Because what you don't realize is that when your child is doing this, they're actually forming new neural pathways where they're getting better at a skill, right? If it comes down to things like, let's say resilience, right? What could a child necessarily have to be resilient over? Okay, let's say, for instance, they're doing bad at a test. Most forms of parenting, like authoritarian or permissive, if you get something wrong, they're either going to coddle you or they're going to berate you. You get a question wrong. Oh, you're so stupid. How couldn't you, how come you couldn't do that? And then permissive parenting, it's okay, buddy. You'll do better next time. Gentle parenting says, is that correct? What can you do differently? Find out where you messed up. Try that again. Good job for trying harder. Excellent work continuing through. Good follow. It's recognizing you're building a skill, and so you're trying to promote that skill building. That's what builds the resilience in the child. That's what builds that perseverance. I can teach a kid to be strong without having to put my hands on them. I can teach a kid to be strong without having to shame them. When I take martial arts, my Sifu is not going to beat me because I do something wrong. He's going to show me where I made a mistake and show me why the mistake can be detrimental, but he ain't going to beat me for it. He's going to say, let's try this again. Let's do this one more time. That's actual discipline. That's how you actually build resilience. It's putting your kid in situations where they have to think critically about their next move. I don't have to beat my kid to make them good at chess. I put them in, I play chess with the child, and they learn by failing a whole bunch of times. This is how I'm supposed to do it. It's putting them in a position where they have to think critically about what they're doing. That's how you build resilience. That's how you build confidence. That's how you make your kids strong. But authoritarianism will only teach your child how to be docile and compliant. Permissive parenting will only teach your child that they can run to you anytime something happens, which isn't a bad thing. But we want the kid to be independent and stand on their own 2 feet. So that's what gentle parenting does. I'm going to build independence in you.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times in that question, some people say, oh, we don't want them to be soft. We want them to be resilient. I'm like, resilient to more abuse, like you should be teaching your kids how to build these skills and also recognize when someone is, being abusive, right? Because that plays out in real life, right? When they start to have relationships with other people, they need to recognize what's actually abusive. People need to stop learning how to be resilient to abuse. That's how I took when people say stuff like that. That's what I think about. Yeah. So now you're projecting, right? You're projecting your trauma. You're speaking out loud.
Yeah. And actually, if we want to keep it a buck, I got a whole bunch of friends whose children were raised with gentle parenting. And when I tell you their ignore game, cutoff game, boundary setting is 100%, right? Where if you do something that they don't like and they've told you a couple times and established that boundary and you keep pushing past it, they peace out. But I also know a lot of people who were raised in very authoritarian households where they are people pleasers. I'm one of them.
Me
I
too.
used to people please my mind off until I got older and I realized, I don't like y'all. But for a lot of people, they were raised to just do that people pleasing because they were conditioned to do that. Now you're out here trying to appease your boss who's abusing you. You're appeasing your spouse who's abusing you. Your friends, same thing.
To abuse. Yeah, we got to normalize to stop conditioning, stop accepting abuse as adults, and then recognize when we're conditioning our children to accept abuse, right?
But I don't think a lot of us even recognize that it is abuse.
Yeah,
and that's where the problem lies.
So I'm one of those, I always get, you don't have any children, you don't know any better. But how am I so in tune with things if I don't have any children, if I don't know any better? Yeah, that ain't it though. That's not it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that ain't it. Yeah. Auntie Mildred, you need something? Sorry. I'm just okay. Auntie Milj ain't gonna never let me have no quiet time. I'm messing with you. Chilimbwe, you have another question?
Of course I do.
Of course you do. Go ahead.
In what situations, if any, do you believe more traditional disciplinary methods might be necessary?
Like what traditional parenting methods would you suggest?
Well, for America, it would be, I guess, authoritarianism.
I can't really find one. And that's coming from somebody like a lot of people think that I didn't get, spanked growing up. I got my ass toe up consistently, like popped in the mouth, straight out the shower, belts, telephone cables, all that kind of stuff. And in every case, whatever they were spanking me for did not work. Did not work. I have seen more. There's a term we have here in the South. You catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. I can do better working with a kid when they are calm than I can when they're agitated or frustrated or in a state of heightened distress. So when their sympathetic nervous system is activated, I can't do nothing with you. Your brain is not going to retain anything except things that are going to keep that organism alive. When you are chilling, when you are calm, when I've brought you down and your parasympathetic nervous system has kicked in, then I can teach you everything. I can teach you how to clean up your room. I can teach you how to cook. I can teach you how to do whatever. You did something crazy at school. I can teach you against that. I cannot do that if you're upset, if you are, if your sympathetic nervous system's kid. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Neurologically, it's not going to work. So I can't see a time where it would be beneficial to use any form of traditional style of parenting on a child. Traditional being like spanking, yelling, slapping, etc.
Let me that includes safety and dangerous behaviors.
Yes. So if you have a kid, like, okay, prime example. Right outside my house, a 4-year-old was in the middle of the street, and I had to get him out of the street. I didn't yell. I didn't do anything like that. I just grabbed this random 4-year-old out of the street. That was it. Was it a dangerous situation? Yes. What would yelling at him or spanking him do? Nothing. I can then teach you how to not go out in the street. I can teach you how to not, run off from your parents. But in that moment, spank you ain't gonna do nothing. That's it.
Well, I'm not sure. You the expert in this regard. We're gonna get to the thing. I mean, that's a safety in a dangerous situation. How would you address it, like with stoves or with playing with knives or anything along those areas?
So I've had situations like that before, where I've been in a residence working with kids and they've played with something that they shouldn't have been playing with, usually a knife or some scissors or something that would hurt them. I just walk up, I say, thank you. And I just take it from their hand. And then I put it up somewhere higher. And then I say off limits. And that's it. That's it. I just move things. A part of being a parent and a part of being an adult is recognizing that kids don't understand danger the way that we do. But I can't fault the child for not understanding. I put up barriers or I teach a skill to help them recognize that this is not something they should do. A good example, the best example I've ever seen of this, because a lot of parents say, well, what if a kid is about to touch a stove or something like that? I have this friend. Her name is Laura Love. She is on my YouTube. You can find her. Amazing woman. She has 2 young boys. One is 6 and I think the other is 4. She taught both of them through Montessori. She was holding her youngest son and she was showing him that a stove is hot. She did not let him touch it. She did not make him touch it. She held his hand. She showed him that the stove is warm. It feels warm up here, but as you get closer, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And she got his hand to the point where it was uncomfortable and he moved his hand back. He recognized at 2 that this is too hot. Actually, I don't even think it was 2. I think it was like maybe 1.5. There are ways to teach your children that don't look like allowing your child to be hurt, but then also letting them see why the danger exists. I had a lady who was on my I was coaching her, and she had I want to say he was like 7 or 8, and he was supposed to be cleaning his room. And all of a sudden she's hearing yelling from the room. She goes into the room, and the kid had, for the life of me, he got stuck in his drawer. Don't know why he was there. He just got in the drawer, and the drawer closed with him in it, and he couldn't get out. And he did not conceptualize danger. She just opened the drawer and got him out. Okay, now if that continues to happen, put something on the drawer. Show him how to open the drawer from the inside. If a kid is about to touch a stove, move stuff away from the stove. If a kid is about to stick something in a socket, they have things that you can stick in the socket. There's at this point, I don't think there's a reason to ever, even in danger, have to add pain to the child if you teach and you create barriers around stuff. Like it don't work for me.
I like that. I like that. I'm going to get into more culturally specific. So many Black or African-American parents believe strict discipline is necessary for survival in a world that isn't always kind to them. How does gentle parenting fit within that reality?
Because gentle parenting is about skills, you can just teach the skills.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be strict. One of the biggest things that we talk about is we have to talk with our kids, and not the talk, the birds and the bees talk, the other talk, where you tell your kids, hey, you are Black. This is the world that you're living in. This is what you're going to happen. That is done without strictness. That's just done with severity of conversation. Hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what it is. Kids pick up on that. Kids recognize that. But also we have to get to the point where we understand that we are progressing quickly. And we can't go into the promised land holding on to old thoughts. It won't work.
Right.
You can't put old wine in new wineskins. So in preparation for us getting to where we're trying to be, we have to raise our kids to be in that new environment with that new mindset. So the strictness, although it had its place during, the slave trade, during Jim Crow, we're moving into a different reality where that's not necessarily the same. Where now it's not, obey the police so you can come home. Now it's obey the police so we can sue them and make money. Instead of,
where's my guy name at FSU? Crump, what up, Ben? Let me holler at you. Go ahead.
Listen, so it's recognizing that there's something else we can do, and we have to teach that skill. My dad, he was a cop. My stepmom was a cop. My uncle was a cop. They taught me how to handle a police interaction to where I'm not putting myself in unnecessary damage. But we also got to recognize that Philando Castile didn't do anything wrong, and he still was shot. We also got to recognize that an RBT like me was shot laying on the ground with his hands up. We also got to recognize that Breonna Taylor was gunned down in her own home without her hand on any type of weapon, minding her business. So the strictness does not actually save us. It's not going to do anything. If you have a racist, murderous officer or person, they're going to do it in general. The system is the system. It is what it is. Why aren't we preparing our kids to exist in a world post-racism instead of teaching them just how to exist in this one? We can do both. We can teach them, hey, this is the reality now, but I'm preparing you for the future when this won't be a thing. That doesn't come by the traditional methods of parenting. Beating asses never saved any Black person from getting lynched. It didn't. If I can say every Black person that has been lynched has gotten spanked, which I'm pretty sure they did, it did not save that. It did not save George Floyd. It didn't save Philando Castile. It didn't save Sandra Bland. Ain't save nobody. So I'm not finna do it because it's not gonna save nobody.
I heard. We do have Dahomey stuff on the panel. I did ask him to come up here because I saw one of the comments, so I might make this like a small dialogue between you two, if Dahomey doesn't mind. So Dahomey, this is your time. Did you have any questions? I know you made the comment in the chat, but I wanted to know if you had any questions for Gabriel yourself, or did you want to make any statements and that he can respond to that?
Oh yeah, how y'all doing? What's going on, everybody?
Awesome. Thank you for coming on.
What's up,
I
bro?
said, come on the chat. And he was like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude.
I think the only question I had was, is it possible, um, to have like a healthy medium in between, the old school built ass, excuse my language, and gentle parenting? Because I feel like I represent a generation or age group of younger uh, parents where we are practicing a bit different parenting, as opposed to what I was subject, or I don't want to say subject to, but because me personally, I wasn't spanked as much, though I come up from Southern parents and family members that most definitely will, put belt to ass. But um, I think I represent an age group or a generation where we are speaking more to our children um, as if they have a say. I guess I would say that, right? Like in terms of like the house. The funny thing to me is I feel like when I have a 12-year-old, so I feel like with my daughter, I tend to ask her opinion on things more than what I was given the luxury to as a kid coming up. It's funny, most of the times, like when I'm with her, I'll ask her what she wants to do or what she wants to eat or where she wants to go, and then I kind of operate around that, as opposed to how I came up, where this is more times than not, I the program was the program. You know what I mean? So um, at the same time, my 12-year-old um, has been spanked before once, not by me, um, but I think more than anything, she is a more balanced, well behaved 12-year-old middle schooler that I've gotten get compliments about her behavior a lot. And I think that speaks more to how I approached raising her coming up, like since she was like 1 or 2. And so I feel like there is less of a necessity to spank my daughter outside of more serious situations that that may or have happened. So I think I don't know. I don't disagree with you at all. I just think I don't know. Maybe I'm torn between there is. I still feel like there is some benefit to you know certain type of chastisement, and as well as adopting new techniques. Um, but yeah, that's it.
Just a
Okay.
moment before you respond. Um, Wicked Sup Kid, are you Dimitri Castillo in the chat? I can't hear you, so just put up a 1 if it's you. If it's not you, put up a 2. Okay. Sometimes we have weird people trying to get on the chat and then they do something vulgar. So I have to do things like that.
Oh, actually, just he was on my live earlier.
Okay. Do you want to be on the panel or no? Wicked sub kid.
I love what this guy is saying. I love everything he's saying. I agree with everything.
All right, let me know when you're ready. I can't hear you, but when you're ready, just put your hand up, okay? So you're ready to speak?
I can't hear him. Oh, he's on mute.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, you muted. We can't hear you. You gotta do something. We can't hear you.
No, he's not muted.
I still can't hear him. Yeah.
Fix your microphone, beloved.
I'm gonna let you
While he's
welcome
doing
that, but go ahead and respond to the homie.
So the happy medium actually is gentle parenting, right? So a lot of people think that gentle parenting is permissive parenting, because at the end you said that you think there has to be some sort of chastisement. Yeah, the chastisement is in gentle parenting. Like, gentle parenting isn't absent of consequence. It's the presence of consequence. That's how the brain learns. It's just the consequence isn't going to be something that's rooted in some sort of physical punishment. It's always rooted in, this is what is the result of your action. So whether that's something like, for me, I like natural consequences. The 18-year-old who's living with me now, he climbed up a light pole, jumped down, and sprained his ankle. Why would you do that? I don't know. In your 18-year-old impulsive mind, that makes sense to you. And now the consequence is you hurt your ankle. I could have told you don't do it 1,000 times. You still did it. When I had to take him to the ER, he got his leg looked at and everything like that. Thank God it wasn't broken. But then past that, I'm telling him, use your crutches and your boot. Use your crutches and your boot. Did not use the boot, or did not use the crutches. He messed his foot up even more. So I had to take him back to the ER. And I was like, yo, because you did X, this is the consequence that you have, a natural consequence. You didn't do this, so now you have to deal with that. I am all for natural consequences. There is a consequence. If I impose a consequence, same thing. If a kid is in my class and I'm telling him to do A, B, and C, and they're not doing it, the consequence is, this is what happens. Your grade is now this. If a kid is talking disrespectfully to me, the consequence is, stop, try that again. I'm not going to engage with you or have a conversation until you talk to me correctly, like I'm talking to you. So the chastisement does not have to be something that is so uncomfortable for the kid that it is a spanking or a slap or a shaming. It is something just as simple as, this is what you did. This is what we're doing now. This is the consequence. So that's the happy medium. Permissive is like no punishment. Authoritarian is all the punishment. Gentle parenting is, I'm going to give you a consequence that's going to help you learn, and I'm going to help you learn from that, and we're going to practice it more until you get the skill. Completely different, but it is the happy medium. So I have not been able to find a single reason ever, period, that I have to put hands on a kid. And I promise you, whatever situation you can deal with or you can come up with, I have been in worse situations and I have never put my hands on a kid or had to do anything like that, and their behavior has changed every single time.
Totally agreed. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, I can. Give me just a moment. I absolutely agree. To add, I worked at a level 4 residential treatment, and these weren't young kids. These were teenagers. Sorry. Between like the ages of 12 and 16 or 17. It was a while ago. But I know it was like 12, 13, 16, or 17 up in there. And it was some tumultuous times going on. I don't think I've never once put my hands on any child working there. Didn't have to, because I would treat them with respect. I treated them like adults. Also, they're coming to the program because they're mandated by the court. And once you read their profiles, you know that and I work, Timberline was for all girls, okay? I worked in Timberline, then you had, it was so long ago, I can't even remember the name, sorry. The other program was a day treatment program, and that was girls and guys in the day treatment, meaning they would come for the day, spend most of the day, go to school, deal with their counselor, their case manager, then they'll go home. Of course, there was a difference in demographics between the residential and the day, which is problematic because most of the residential were either poor white kids or Black kids. Day treatment were middle class to rich white kids who got in trouble. I'm just speaking the facts. I'm not trying to, do no funny stuff, but I'm just speaking the facts of what that demographic looked like, which was why when I started to do lobbying, I did juvenile justice reform because those standards had to change. And we know that if African-American juvenile, Black juvenile gets into trouble, they get harsher penalties for the same crimes. We know this. The statistics speaks to this. Regardless of what they came in for, regardless of their behavior, I treated them with respect. I tried to give them love, tough love, but love. But also, it was always in my head to never try to inflict any more abuse than they have already dealt with at home. That was it. Do not do that. So whatever trauma I have going on, I had to check that at the door. Like, I'm Miss Zachary. I'm their counselor right now. So, that's why when people say, that's the only thing I know, there's nothing else or whatever, they just make excuses. No, you can not beat your child. You cannot spank your child. You can do that. And what I know from parents and my experience with talking to people that I knew personally that have children, trying to advocate for gentle parenting, because I've seen people just hammer on their children, and that is crazy, And it was always like, oh, you don't have any children, you don't know. It's crazy. I'm not gonna get into that, but I'm always advocating for children. So
Can I add a little more?
go ahead. And then I'll let you go. Wicked sup kid. I'll let you go after him, okay? Go ahead, Tony.
Add one more. I'm a dip. Let y'all. I'm gonna keep listening, but So
You're
my
good.
question for that model, would you say gentle parenting would work on, let's say, like what Juju was speaking, would that work towards maybe like a parent adopting children? So, because I think what you were saying and what I spoke to is raising up a kid. I've raised my daughter, from birth a certain type of way, and so I found it not necessary. Just and my best friend, our daughters were born 5 days apart, and so I'm pretty sure he probably has the same parenting experience as I do, because we both haven't really spoke towards having to whoop our kids like that. So, but also my other question was, what is your take on, what is your opinion on parents who have more of a or let's say just military parents? Like, what do you think of an ex-military who parent their children a certain type of way? The thing is it always, would you say that's abuse, or can you find ways to chastise your kid non-abusive, but I don't know, I don't even know how to put that, but if you can kind of pick up what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what was your first question again? I told you I got ADHD, so you're gonna tell me I'm gonna forget.
I think I lost the model. So the model of would
it work on adopted kids?
Yeah. Would you say, like if you adopted a 10-year-old, right? Or
Great
a
question.
12-year-old, adopted a 10-year or 12-year-old, right? And they come from I don't want to call it a broken home. That's I feel like, I don't know. But they come from from ex parents who uh were physically disciplinarians. And
Yeah.
now you have this 10, 12-year-old, and it's not exactly going, the gentle parent isn't exactly going smooth. That's the question.
Okay, so funny you say that. Sorry, my monitor just went off.
I was gonna
Because
say
that
the
was quite
same
literally
thing.
me.
Yep.
Say, yeah. So last month I had a 15-year-old. Well, technically he's 17 now, but I've had him since he was 15. And the story is I found him downtown in my town, and he was homeless, and I'm a mandated reporter, and I could lose my teaching certificate if I don't report it. So I reported it, and CPS asked me to hold on to him. I was not a foster parent at this time, so I was like, y'all don't know me from Adam. I could be like an axe murder or something, whatever. Wound up taking him in, and I had him for a year and some change. The kid is pre-schizophrenic. He had a lot of issues, lots of psychosis, lots of crazy, like Charles Manson type behavior, you know what I'm saying? And I had to use gentle parenting on him. I came home one day and he had this bout of psychosis where what I deduced by what I saw around the room, around my house, he was throwing my dog's bones down the hallway, chipped a piece of the wall. He kicked my door and left a footprint on my door because he did not like to wash all the time. Took all of the stuff from my pantry on all 3 shelves and put them on one shelf. Very organized, chaos, kind of weird stuff. Messed up my sink. Not sure what he put in the sink, but it was messed up. And now my first thought process wasn't, oh my God, let me, strangle this kid, because why would you do that? Let me send you back to your parents. My first thought process was, but why though? Like, what? He was just sitting in the middle of the floor in a chair, looking outside, looking really sad and down. And I was like, what the heck is wrong with this boy? Like, what he got going on? And I asked him about what happened, and he just like broke down crying. Then I realized, oh, this kid is got something going on in his brain parts. All right, psychosis, cool. Then I was able to do other stuff past that. When you do gentle parenting, right? Because I come from a behavioral background, behavior is synonymous across the board, regardless of the environment that the child comes from. Behavior is behavior. Stimuli is going to create a behavior. An antecedent creates a behavior, which creates a consequence. No matter what the kid is going through, no matter what the kid experiences, as long as you understand the stimuli and how it affects the behavior, you can change the consequence. You can change the behavior. So even if your child is adopted, you can still change that child's behavior. It's just called being trauma informed. Now, to your second question, which I forgot, military. My dad was a Marine. My dad was a Marine that served in Vietnam. And then my dad was a lieutenant for the Atlanta Police Department for 31 years. I had to make my bed using that hospital fold and everything like that. I had to make sure that the house was clean, stem to stern. I am ADHD, classic ADHD, and I was undiagnosed. So my dad's thinking I'm being rebellious because I'm forgetting to do things. And he would just, go upside the back of my head, pull out the belt, do all this kind of stuff when I legitimately either forgot or it didn't happen. The only good thing I can say about a military parent is that they can teach through repetition. But when it comes down to working with your kid, are you trying to raise a soldier or are you trying to raise an adult? Because I'm not military minded. My dad, even today, is trying to get me to join the military. I'm not joining the military. I ain't going to work for these white folk like that. What do I look like? There are things that he taught me that I use, like making up my bed. My bed is made relatively enough. He taught me how to, maintain certain things. But with the stuff that he beat me for, in one ear and out the other. Did not work, did not stay. Specifically, once I got out of his house, went back to doing the exact same thing I was doing before. So what is the goal? Is the goal to make soldiers that are compliant, that do everything the way you want them to do? Or is it to raise independent adults who can be effective in doing whatever they want to do? If they want to be effective with getting a job, do they know how to apply for a job? Do they have a good resume? Do they want to get a job, or do they want to be the boss? Do they know how to take care of all of their bills? Do they know how to pay their taxes? That's the stuff that a parent should be taught, and that's regardless of whether the military or not. Are they teaching that? What are our goals? That's
right.
the thing.
But I think what your father may lacked was the conversational part behind the chastisement, and then
he did that. It just didn't work.
Okay, but do you feel like you've taken nothing from the discipline?
Literally nothing. The only thing that I was left with was my bed, and I don't even make my bed the way he taught me. I just put stuff on the bed and call it a day.
Could that be your rebellious side to not look at the larger picture of? Because
I understand the larger picture.
I don't come from a military parents, but I've heard a lot of great stories of people raised by military parents, and they speak a lot to how it has shaped them as adults, being organized, disciplined, and I feel like there are a lot of benefits to that, and part of me wish I came up under that type of structure. I feel like a lot of boys, in particular, young black boys, would do well, not just the discipline, but the structure. You know what I mean? Um is there room for improvement in that? Yes. I mean, there always is. And what I'm saying is I just feel like it's more so.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish your thought, but
Oh no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So maybe it's counterintuitive, but if you look at the statistics, rates of abuse are high among people in the police force and military. Just so you know.
My dad shot me, by the way.
So it's not always the best conducive environment to raise a child like you would think because of the discipline. Discipline looks different to people. I actually think that lots of parents don't know what discipline actually is. I'll leave it at that, but yeah. We have pseudo-killer official Cedric on the panel, but Wicked Sup Kid has been waiting for a little while, so I want to go ahead and get his input. And welcome to the panel, mulatto rights activist. That is such a
peace, family, and thanks for having me up. Much love.
No problem. Thank you. So, you're up, Wicked Sup Kid.
Thank you. And I just want to say I agree with everything this guy's saying. And a lot of things that we tend to mistake is like these ideas of parenting go further. They go way like I'm an LPN nurse. I'm at a nursing home, and I promise you, I use authoritative and gentle parenting every single day because you're dealing with people that their brains are not what they used to be. So we're going at segments at a time, and they come in with these already pre-learned behaviors, these pre-learned quirks, these already exposures and outbursts of emotion that might be really hard to understand. And you have to show up with them and understand them and try to teach them in a way and relate to them in a way that they'll receive it instead of just being like, you need to listen to me. This is how things are. This is how things are to go. That never works. 100% of the time, you're going to make them freak out and something really bad's going to happen. You got to work with your patients to keep the boat going. And so like when we think think of gentle parenting, we can't just think of it, oh, this is just with kids. This is with every person we meet and interact with. Are we just gonna hear their emotions and be receptive of it and really try to like understand, like, oh, when you say this, I'll react like this, but not in an explosive way? Or are you just gonna go around being like, oh, you told me something, I can't handle this, so I'm gonna explode and now bring that to my workplace? Like these ways of parenting and controlling your mind doesn't stop at just children. It goes so much further, and the children you affect hold on to that for a lifetime. So it's just
Mhm.
like you got to think about that.
And to also
Excellent
reply
input.
to, I'm sorry.
I was just saying that was some excellent input.
I was going to say also to reply to the homie, with my dad, with kids in general, the goal is that we think that there has to be this perfection that's attained, right? And so we look at different people and we think, oh, because they're organized, they're good parents, or because they're compliant, they're good parents. This is the hallmark of perfect parenting. But it fails to look at who is the child. I am not a military child. I cannot thrive in the military environment. That's not me. My mind would not allow me to do that. I'm so ADHD. And so my dad kept trying to impose that mindset on me. And every time he did it, he would run into a wall because that's just not how my brain functions. Less perfection, more functionality. Are you teaching the things that they need in order to survive as adults? That's it. Can I take care of myself? Yes, I can cook. I got this wonderful 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a lovely backyard, car. All of the stuff is in my name that I had to get myself, that nobody had anything to do with. This was me pulling myself up out of the mud. The only thing I can say my dad gave me in terms of his military discipline was how to keep pushing myself no matter what. That's it. But anybody, whether they're military or not, can teach that. So it's less who is the parent and more who is the child supposed to be. Raise your child in the way that he should go, not the way you want him to go, the way he needs to go. Then he'll stay on that path that he won't veer from it. But if we're raising him with the mindset of, oh, we have to do this, it has to be that, and very strict military, I ain't gonna do nothing. And kids who raise in those environments, they wind up being the craziest ones. Every single one of them, they out here doing something. Their daughter's going out here being fast. The boys out here being faster. So it really is, what is the functionality? Who is the child supposed to be? And is this fitting for the child's personality?
I think you could say that you can make them same claims about church kids.
And my granddad was a reverend. So
speaking of that, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. I'm sorry. Dang. Go ahead, Sam. My bad. PseudoKillas Fisher. I apologize. I know you was next, but we're going to go back to that.
Got PseudoKillas Official, Cedric, and we got Kent. And we would get to you. But I do want you to go to it. Chilembwe, I know you ADHD. We're going to put a lot on you right now. But just hear this. And then I want Chilembwe to speak. You can respond, and then we'll go to Cedric and then Kent. Okay? I'll repeat that. So I don't know what you was going to say, but I wanted to ask this question too, but it might be because it's got to do with, church and stuff. Some parents feel that their cultural religious values emphasize obedience and respect for elders in a way that contradicts gentle parenting. How do you navigate that tension, with the church folk and, the Bible said, spare the rod, spoil the child and all that stuff. Hold on to that. Is that anywhere near what you were going to go to, Cedric, Chilembwe, or no?
Yeah, I'm going to quote it. I'm going to read it.
Okay. I want you to respond to what I just said, Gabriel, and then you can go there, Chilembwe. Then we got you, Cedric and Kent, because we get that a lot. Do I need to read the question over for you again, Gabe?
No, I think I got it.
Right.
And just correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Little backstory about me. Like I said, my granddad was a reverend in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Yes. The first church started for Black folk by Black folk.
Yeah.
And he was he was old school. But when I tell you my grandfather was the wisest man I have ever met in my life, and I would say if he wasn't, I thought he was Jesus for the longest time as a kid. I'm just saying. But
that's cute.
In as much as my granddad was this big, strong black man with a voice that boomed like thunder, yes, he was old school. Yes, the emphasis was always respect your elders. It was also, I want you to figure things out. He was an epitome of gentle parenting. He spanked, true enough. He was born in 1919. But when what got me from lying and stealing as a kid was when he looked at me one time, caught me in the act and said, why? All you have to do is ask for it. That changed my whole, my mind was blown off of something just that small. Man in the church said something like that, right? When I was homeless, I had a job working as a Bible teacher for my church's private school. I was a Bible teacher who took biblical Hebrew to teach this to children. What I know is that the Bible does not promote or condone corporal punishment of children. And if anybody wants to run up at me, I will pull out the actual Hebrew, show you what it means, and do a whole exegesis of the passage. It does not talk about hitting your kids. It is talking about discipline, and the discipline is talking about teaching and teaching with authority. That's it. What we are seeing is we're looking at Christianity through the lens of whiteness, where it centers it's putting you in a framework here, and you can only see life through this. You can't see nothing else. So when you're reading the scriptures through this whiteness lens, you're going to think that this is always talking about the same thing. Spare the rod, spoil the child also isn't even scripture. It comes from a 16th century poem called Hudibras, which had nothing to do with spanking a child. It had something to do with love. It was a poem about love. Literally. It had nothing to do with actually spanking a child. Y'all can look this up.
They
took that and added it to this. The scripture in Proverbs 13:23 says, he who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves his son is quick to chastise him. That's how we interpret it. If we actually look at the etymology of the words, there are two words that we need to look at. The first word is the word for rod, which is shevet, which means like a shepherd's rod or staff. It's only used to poke the sheep or to pull them by the neck out of a bad situation, or it's to ward off beasts. It's not supposed to hit the sheep. First off, the sheep got all this fur. You really think they're going to feel it like that? No, you poke them. That's what gets them to move, or you pull them to safety. The other word that we have to look at is the word for discipline, or musar. Musar does not mean discipline the way we think it does. It means ethics or morals. So the father who spares the rod, because we forever, whatever reason, think that it means beating a child, even though it's Proverbs, hates his son, but he who loves his son is quick to teach him ethics and morals. In biblical law, Mosaic law specifically, because the word used in that verse, it does not mean like a child, because it would have, if it was a small child, it would have been yeled. The word is na'ah, which is an adolescent. It's usually ascribed to somebody that's a teenager. Once you pass the age of 13, you can't put your hands on them anymore because that's illegal. That because you're hitting an adult. And then you're not going to hit a child anyway. The only rabbi who ever promoted hitting a child in general was Rabbi Ramban. And he said, if you're going to do it with the strap of a sandal. A strap of a sandal is like this. In essence, he's saying there's no point in trying to do it at all. That's how they use language. It was figurative. So in no way should the church be allowing corporal punishment of children. We did not do that in Africa. We did not do that in the Americas. We taught through storytelling. We taught through communal correction. We taught through labor. We taught through stern words, correction, redirection, but it was not through this hitting and stuff. And so the fact that we're out here pushing this is because of biblical illiteracy, which is one of the most dangerous things on earth. And then also that that European centricism. That's all that is. It's whiteness manufactured to put us in a lens of trauma and a framework of trauma.
I think your remembrance of your grandfather speaks more to the medium that I'm talking about. And I think I think the conversation isn't exactly about chastisement. I think it's more about abuse. And that's something totally different.
Which
I
one?
think spankings is different than a beating.
What's the difference?
I think a spanking comes with. I think a spanking comes behind um a bad action, or um something that the kid, when the kid wrongs, the spanking comes. Abuse is, like many of us have, can point to, I have no idea why I just got my ass beat, right?
I'll
Like
give you two
my
reasons real quick, because I want to hit that before I lose it. There are two reasons why I disagree. First reason, there was a woman recently, like I just made a video on it. She beat her 14-year-old son to death because he didn't clean his room. There was a bad action. He did not clean his room after she told him multiple times. The result was she beat him for an hour with an extension cord until he stopped responding. When you say in your mind that there's a difference between spanking and abuse, one, that sets you up for a slippery slope. And then two, it fails to address how the body of the child perceives what's happening. You're how tall are you compared to your daughter?
man. I mean, I'm taller, but my daughter tall, so.
Okay. I'm 6'8" for reference. So I'm a giant compared to humans in general. And now little children, I'm taller than.
Yeah.
If I come up to an adult, they're going to start to have, they're going to start to emit stress responses because I'm tall, I'm intimidating. Now, add me putting hands on them, their brain is not perceiving that as, oh, I'm being disciplined. The brain is perceiving that as, I am being attacked by somebody that's supposed to take care of me. Their body is going to release certain hormones. Did you know that we know scientifically that girls who are beaten consistently go through puberty earlier? And that's whether or not the parents think that they're doing it as discipline or abuse. They develop sooner because their brains start to secrete oxytocin and cortisol, which makes their bodies develop sooner. Their brains are essentially saying, we're not going to live long because of these high levels of cortisol, which means that to us biologically, we're in a stressful situation. So let's hurry up and develop so we can reproduce and carry on our genes. That's what's happening.
I don't know if that's I don't want to speak on that because I don't have enough information. I don't like to speak on things I'm not privy to. But I think the way you spoke about your grandfather and the way you spoke about your father speaks volumes. And I think it has to do with the difference in a spanking and abuse. And I think you, just like I, with parents and relatives in my family, can feel, and you know the difference even as a younger child. I think it's just the respect and the reverence that you have for said parent or family member. And your grandfather, he made quite the impression on you. And so you have this level of respect for him that is different than your father's. And so chastisement from your father, is just abuse. Whereas you have a grandfather who spanks as well, but also has these conversations with you. Though you said your father has had conversations with you, such
Well,
as
that
the
was actually
same.
the
And
thing.
so,
My granddad didn't spank me,
but
and there was a
but he
conversation.
but he did spank, right?
You
He
is
spanked
trying
his
to
kid.
find
He
a
didn't spank me.
justification for it, Dahomey. Lord.
Right?
I ain't
Like,
gonna lie.
You, but I gotta
Hey,
move
so,
on, Dahomey.
all
yeah.
right,
I
I
want you to
got you.
hold that thought because
I
we got
got
other
you.
people on, and I need to
I
get
agree.
them in.
I do agree with you though, Gabriel. I'm not totally against you. I'm just, you know, I'm in the middle with it though. I'm in the middle.
I'm gonna tell you this. When you get a chance, read this book by Dr. Stacy Patton called "Spare the Kids: Why Whoopings Won't Save Black America." Read that book.
Okay.
I'll put it
Wait.
in the
Say the
chat
author name
again.
again.
Stacy Patton, Dr. Stacy Patton.
Stacy
Dr.
She's
Stacy
from
Stacy
Patton.
Howard.
Patton. Okay. All right. I
I'll
got you.
drop
No,
it
for real.
in.
Peace,
I
y'all.
dropped
Peace,
it in
y'all.
earlier, but I'll drop it in again. So don't go too far. I'll do that for you, Dahomey. Chilemwe, did you get to your question? Because I'll be forgetting too.
Yeah, I want to go. I want to go to another one, which is in Ephesians. I think he answered that question well, but I don't think that majority of the black churches will stand in agreement with that response. Yeah, I don't think they would agree with that. I think most people interpret that spare the rod as beat the dog doo out of your children to teach them discipline.
Yeah,
Now,
they wrong. You feel me? They gotta be able to take correction.
yeah, but
They have been brought to them. Go ahead.
it sounds good. I'm just telling you how
I get in
99%
reality. Yeah.
of people respond to that scripture, right? Most people aren't going to go through and do the exegesis and go into the Hebrew and find out exactly what those terms mean. Most people are going to read the King James version and take it for what it means.
I got you.
That's just how it is. But I want to talk to this one right here and ask him, Gabriel, if this is more in reference to gentle parenting, because I think this may be, well, I'll wait till I get his response. So this is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. And there's a reason why, because I'm going to play a clip of a video.
Bible study.
No, I'm going to play a clip of a video about, well, I posted it in the Discord about what they're trying to do in some states where they're trying to justify corporal punishment for children by teachers. Okay?
Yes,
so
sir.
It says, and ye fathers provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Skip the Lord part, we ain't with that. But nevertheless, would that be more in reference to the type of gentle parenting you're trying to explain?
Basically, yeah. And there's actually another verse that says something very similar. I want to say in Philippians. That is kind of the point. Like, there's also a verse that says, well, fathers do not. Well, yeah, that's actually part of it. Fathers, don't provoke your children to wrath. Literally, don't do that. Don't keep pushing on your kids that they get like it's going to cause rebellion. The rabbis knew this. Like, you don't keep beating a child. You don't keep pushing a child. And when I say beating, I'm talking like beating a dead horse. Don't keep pushing something in. They're going to grow. Most of the stuff that kids go through are phases. They're not going to be there forever. As they mature, Jesus says, or I think it was Paul who says, as I was a child, I thought and I spoke as a child, but when I became a man, I put childish things away. When you become an older person and you have just guidance of the older people, they'll give them the wisdom gently. They'll take that wisdom and they'll grow because they'll see what's working and what's not working. They're going to go. And the church ain't got to listen to what I say. They can't read half the time, no way. So I ain't too worried about it.
Yeah. The reason why I said that is because currently there's about 17 states that allow teachers to beat children, to spank children, or to use some form of corporal punishment as a means to discipline. Most of them consist of those 17 states that allow it. Is in the Bible Belt. So you could say from South Carolina all the way around to like Oklahoma up to like Montana, Kentucky, that whole central section, southeast to like south central America, all those states tend to allow some form of corporal punishment. And I played the part of this video. I want to see if y'all can hear this video that I'm about to play, where they're talking about this very thing going on in the state now. So can y'all hear that?
No, you need to you like share it so I can present your screen.
Okay, I'm gonna share, but
Is the link in the Discord?
Yeah, it's the one I put it. You know, it's the guy talking about it before we got into
I didn't see any of it. So if you could just, can you put it back in the Discord again? So when I go in there, I can just grab it for you, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Thank you. Sorry.
I wasn't sure if they allow you to play it, so I was going to hide the screen.
Does it have music in it?
No, it don't.
It'll be fine. I'll put up the warning.
Yeah, put the warning up for us. Yeah, so that's it. I wanted it it's like the first like 15, 30 seconds. He's talking about what's going on in Oklahoma. And one of the concerns I have, whether you believe in the Bible, however you take it or whatever, a lot of the laws that are proposed are based upon the first interpretation of that scripture itself. So I wanted to address that and make sure that we can clearly respond to that, because if you want to remove it, then you would have to address their religiosity as well, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Did you send it? Wait a minute. Did you send it to me in Discord? Where is this?
Yeah, you should see it. I highlighted it. I put it in your thing. Oh, you know what? I put it in Kent's joint. Hold on.
See, I was like, I don't see nothing.
Dang, I put it in kick door low. There you go.
Oh, the friendly atheist in Oklahoma, Christian lawmaker, this video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon me for the delay. I just wanted to clarify what the reason why we went into the whole Bible thing, right? Because besides the right-wing Christian nationalists that are running an agenda in the United States government right now, they've been definitely using the Bible as a crutch to advocate for harm to individuals who have either alternative lifestyles, who are minorities, and or just the whole idea of science in the classroom and the promotion of healthy development for people. So
before I do this, I'm gonna address the comment. I can't help it. The comment is, we talked about this earlier. Some people might have missed it, but it was about how some people think they may have benefited from, spanking and things like that. And me and Gabriel had a nice dialogue about, also people not recognizing what abuse looks like, okay? And still it's a form of abuse. And I think Black people in general, African Americans, we have been groomed in a way to accept abuse. I think that's like a reason why, particularly Black women in general, women period, but Black women, boy, we gonna stick by our man. If he knock our head off, we sticking by him, no matter what, because we're prone to abuse. So speaking of me also, right? Just being transparent. So yeah, it's saying that benefit you. Well, it did. Yeah, because you were groomed to accept abuse. And then we talked about that earlier. So if you want to rewind later on and look at that segment, yeah, I think that was some butter right there. That was the bread and butter, because this is what it's addressing. Also, Gabriel spoke of ACEs. Every time we do the brain show, we talk about ACEs. In the description, there's a link that discusses ACEs. I believe it's from the CDC. And then there's a test that you can take to measure your childhood trauma, right? I always, as people who are going to deal with children, are going to be in, maybe a new relationship, and someone has children, around children, any capacity to take that. So you can measure your trauma, so you're aware, so you don't project that trauma onto the children around you. Yeah. So yeah, that's why we talk about ACEs here a lot, especially on the brain show. So I just wanted to mention that. Chalimba, you want me to play this clip? Is there a particular area you want me to play? I'll hide it.
Just like the first 30 seconds.
First 30 seconds. I got you. Let me go ahead. Do I have a warning? We'll do it like that. Okay. First 30 seconds.
Republican lawmakers in Oklahoma are seriously arguing that we need to make sure teachers can beat students who have disabilities in the classroom. Because if you don't allow them to do that, it would violate what the Bible says. That is seriously the argument they're making here. Here's what you need to know about this. Oklahoma is a state that actually permits corporal punishment in public schools. And that's a problem in and of itself. It says, teachers can spank, hit students if they feel it's necessary. But the law in Oklahoma does carve out one exemption to that. It says you cannot hit a kid with the most significant cognitive disabilities. So teachers can theoretically spank.
Is that good enough?
Yes, that's good.
You want to go further?
No, that's good. That's my whole point, that they're that this is going right now. So we have an ideological difference going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's being argued, and laws are being passed based on, according to Gabriel, misinterpretations and customs of how certain scriptures were to be applied. And so I think it's dangerous. Right. And I think that we have to be able to address it, whether you're a skeptic, atheist, or whatever. You have to be able to address that issue.
Honestly, it shouldn't even be addressed, because last I looked, there's a separation between church and state, and schools are definitely under the state category. So why are we even including that in there anyway? As a Christian that loves the Lord Jesus Christ with all his heart, mind, soul, and strength, I don't want people forced to adhere to the Bible, because that is the antithesis of what it talks about. Not to just jump on that, but first you have, again, we're looking at life through the lens of whiteness, where we think that white is right, and whiteness is pushed by capitalism and religious illiteracy, where we are promoting things that the Bible has never, ever said. We have taken it based on the concepts of whiteness that we had, because people back then weren't reading. People back then weren't looking at life based on, with historical context. They were looking at it based on what they knew now. I had a conversation with the Reverend not too long ago about something very similar. And he was like, no, the Bible absolutely promotes it. No, it doesn't. No, when you actually know how to read it, it doesn't say that. But of course, people are only going to reiterate what their pastor learned. And I know their pastor didn't go to seminary. They were just, oh, well, my dad ran a church, so I'm going to run it. That's it. It's an old boy system. It's literally just another tool of white supremacy to keep people enslaved. And I'm not saying the Bible is that. Y'all can, talk about however that y'all want. But in this case, that's not what it's talking about. And these people are only doing that because they want to promote these old values to get us to another place of authoritarianism. Corporal punishment only promotes authoritarian. It conditions people to authoritarianism. I don't care how much your parent loved you. I don't care how much, you know, this person did for you. If they're putting their hands on you because you're doing something wrong, they are trying to force authoritarianism, point blank, period. That's just what it is.
Thank you.
Got it. So, Cedric, you've been waiting for a while. The floor is yours.
Peace, peace, family, peace, chill, peace, peace, everybody on the panel. A great discussion as usual. And if I could speak from my own experience, I had my first son relatively young, and as a 24-year-old full of testosterone, and I'm doing it like my dad, a real Caribbean macho parent. I was hardline, not necessarily physical, but very hardline. And I was fortunate enough to be very interested in working with animals and operant conditioning, whereas you're not able to get angry. There is no point where you lose that self-control. And I made the click very soon in that same demeanor towards raising my kids. And once you let go of that ego and understood that, okay, when they mess up, that's when I'm allowed to parent. It's situational, and we can talk about it. At the end of the day, it's about communication. Now, what I do take away from working and using operant conditioning with both domestic and wild animals is consistency. I've seen parents get upset at their kids, spank them, tell them to sit down, and 2 minutes later the kid reverts back to whatever they were doing. The spanking was the parents' frustration, had nothing to do with the kid itself, because there was no real consequence after you spanked the kid for a particular behavior, and you instituted a punishment, and there was no consistency. At the moment that the child wanted to get up, the child was allowed to get up, and I was confused because my word is my bond. If I say X, it's X. I don't revert back from that word. So that consistency builds trust. And once you have a certain amount of trust with your children, I've raised, my oldest son is 27. My youngest son is off to college next year. I've never been to school for fights or involved with police, and I raised them with martial arts and all that, just normal stuff. But because there is no corporal punishment, I don't need to hit you, bro. We could deal with that. Come sit on the wall. And like you said, the question, why do you do that? That didn't make no sense. That question there, and the fact that you say that didn't make no sense, you see how their face started. It processed the information like, okay, I was really stupid. I don't need to do much more than that. So the whole idea of spanking your kids comes from your inability to cope with the situation you're confronted with. Like when you said you came home, the place was in array. That reminded me of working with dogs. You come home, your house is torn up. There's no sense of even addressing the dog at that moment because they make no connection to the action. They're just seeing you wilding out for no particular reason. Better luck next time. Why did that happen? How can I prevent it? Should I have walked you before I left? Should I kennel you? You need to figure out how you prevent that situation instead of going ham on the dog, because it wouldn't lead to a change in the behavior. You would come home consistently and find the same situation, right? So there's never a need for spanking your child. There's never a need for losing control. And remember, when your children mess up, that's your opportunity to parent. That's when you get a chance to teach. That's when your patience and your attention and your understanding comes into play. As a kid, I used to prefer I got spanked because my mom would quick to spank her. right? Initially. But my dad would sit us down and have these long conversations that would make you cry. Oh my, I hated those because he made you look at yourself. He would just sit there like, okay, and what did you do? No, 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 don't tell me about the other guy. I want to know what you did. And with a calm voice like that. And he was a general. We called him the general. But the conversation, that stuff, that's what stuck. I used to say, man, beat me. Yeah, go ahead, spank me. I can deal with that. Right? And at the end of the day, I realized that it had no effect on me. It didn't change me. It just made me angry for 5 minutes, and I was good after. Right? So that eventually my parents even realized that didn't make no sense. They stopped doing it. And I was the eldest. Now my siblings were raised with much more conversation, much more dialogue, much more relationship wise instead of that hardcore. But I was the eldest of my father too, right? And he got me when he was 23. So that cycle there, I pretty much did the same thing in my father's later years. He would just talk and he would be see like, yeah, that doesn't make no sense. You see, so you develop that ability to communicate, and you never have a reason to raise your hand. I think in our community, especially when men hear gentle parenting, we tend to think that we are not demanding, not straightforward, don't have no discipline. It's not that, but there's never a need to raise your hand.
Yeah, I agree. And so what I find a lot of times is people will say things, well, it worked for me and I came out fine, or they're always like self-imposing them. Every child is different. Your child may not be you, right? And again, some people came in late, but Gabriel talked about that. You have to deal with the child for who they are, because you can take, two children, stipulate the same type of corporal punishment on both of them, and you could have different, attitudes or effects from that. One child may be devastated by that, like the end of the world, and really having issues with that. Whereas another child is laughing through it. It wasn't nothing, and they still gonna act out. So again, you got to remember, we're talking about the child. We're not talking about you, what your parents did to you. We're talking about children, and they're different, and every child is different. Someone wanted to say, well, they keep saying define abuse, and I don't think people understand when it comes to with dealing with children and these perfections, what's considered legal abuse is not necessarily the same as psychological abuse, or how psychologists and counselors and people who deal with children call abuse. Okay, so I want you to understand that. So how legality or our laws define abuse is not how people who deal with children, like Gabriel, behavioral tech, how they look at abuse. It's different. So please don't try to compare the two. But someone wanted you to define abuse, if you don't mind doing that.
Abuse is the misuse of a person or thing. So kids aren't for hitting. So if you hit them, that's abuse. To make a good parallel, if you would not hit your spouse, if you would not hit your animal, if you would not hit your boss or your colleague or your peer, and because that's assault and battery, don't do it to a child. You wouldn't spank your spouse unless y'all are into that with consent. Ain't gonna kink shame. But if you don't do that to them, don't do it to a child. If hitting a person is domestic abuse, don't do that to your child. There is no difference. That's kind of what I'm trying to get people to understand. There is no difference. The brain of a child cannot tell the difference between abuse and It's not a thing. The body will respond the same way, whether it's abuse or it's discipline. It's going to do the same thing scientifically. It's not an argument. There is no difference.
Thank you. Kick Dolo, what up, Kent?
What up? What's up, man? Everybody doing?
We chilling. You doing good, fam?
True indeed, man. It's been a good show, man. Thank the
you.
guests for coming on. Appreciate everybody else on the panel too, man. I was gonna ask them. I've heard, psychologists and other scientists speak on how indoctrination of religion or religious indoctrination being a form of child abuse. I want to ask them do you agree with that, or how do you feel about that?
Heck yeah. That's straight up indoctrination, even religious, can be abusive, very much so. One of the biggest things that I have an issue with is that Christianity is not supposed to be forced on people, period. It's something you choose, right? So the fact that people are forcing it on to people is by definition already antithetical to the gospel. So you should not be forcing religion on children. They should be coming to that conclusion later in life. You can raise them up with some of the traditions. You can raise them up with the understanding, but to try to force that on them, like Mormons, like Jehovah's Witnesses, like a lot of Southern Baptist Christians, that is abusive. And as well, to take it to the point where you're using the ideals from those religions to force abuse on these children even more, like child marriages or the suppression of sex education, comprehensive sex education that can save their lives, or even just beating your kid. All of that coming from religious backgrounds is abusive AF.
True indeed. I agree with that.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had, man.
Thank you, Kent. I appreciate it. So I want to answer the problem, that question of abuse. Gabriel defined it, but let me tell you how it looks on the legal standpoint versus on a psychological standpoint. Global law, legality of spanking varies worldwide. So in the United States, they call it, let me go find the word real quick, reasonable. I believe it's called like a reasonable corporal punishment. Those things are lawful. But on a psychological standpoint, research have examined how spanking affects children's well-being. The consistent findings is that spanking is associated with a negative outcome, and few, if any, benefits. So on a psychological standpoint, spanking is not considered healthy or normal, okay? That's why I said it's a difference. Now, for the reasonable corporal punishment, even though that is legal in the United States, you have countries now like Switzerland and I want to say Japan or China that have made it illegal to do corporal punishment. Okay, so and I will drop those. I will drop the whole article so you can read it because I'm not going to read everything. It's not an article. I got it from ChatGPT, but it does list sources for you. But I'll drop that in the Discord. Posteriors, I'll send it to you. The homie Steph, hit the Discord and I'll give it to you. But there you go. So it may be legal, but there's no benefit from a psychological standpoint to a child. As Gabriel said, there's no difference in hitting your child than actually using gentle parenting to discipline them. So, did I say that right, Gabe? Because I messed up. Fix it for me, please. Dang,
You're
why
fine.
did you leave?
I'm just trying to get everybody to understand it's the same thing. There is no there is no difference neurologically or physiologically. And the people who are trying to say it is, it's only for their benefit. The parent spanking their kid, it's only thinking that there's a difference is only a benefit to you. It's not a benefit to the child.
If you have any questions or you want to have a small discussion with Gabriel on this subject matter, I'm going to drop the link. We're going to wind this down, but you're welcome to come on the panel.
Let me
Go
ask you
ahead.
something real quick. So,
Yes, sir.
okay. So it sounds good, right? You know, we could tell people not to spank their children. I agree with that. But you also have, you know, instances where the soft parenting doesn't work. Meaning there's some children that just don't give a damn. You can be nice to them. You could do like you said, tell them, you know, to try harder or try it again and all of that, and they just don't, you know, they don't budge. What do you suggest to those parents that are trying that soft parenting and it's just not working?
Find out the root of the behavior. So in ABA, applied behavioral analysis, which a lot of people are on the fence about, but it's undergone a huge restructuring. One of the things that we talk about are the 4 functions of behavior. So we have the acronym SEAT, which stands for sensory, escape, access to a tangible, and attention. And of those, most behaviors come out of one of those needs, right? And if I'm looking at a kid, for instance, I taught middle school and I work with teens, aggressive teens. Of all of those teens, the first thing I would do before I do anything else is I stop and I look at what could be happening, what's happening in the environment that could be making their behavior be a certain way. Then I connect with the child. That's one thing that a lot of parents do not have a concept of, parents and teachers. Before you correct, you need to connect. What is happening with your child? Hey, bud, what's going on? You're talking to me real disrespectful. Something else is happening. What's going on? When you make that connection, if they choose to address you, cool. If not, hey, you're really upset. Go take a walk. Go wash your face or whatever, and then come back. Then we can have a conversation. I've done it to kids. A lot of times when they came at me disrespectful, it had nothing to do with me. It was something that happened outside of my class or outside of my home. And then once I gave them time to calm down, then I was able to meet with them. And then we can, you know, work on what we need to do. And that's regardless of what they did. My 16-year-old was out here clapping cheeks on the side of my house. And I wanted to punch him and the chick in the face because she was 32. I said it.
Damn.
Yeah, I said what I said. And when I see her walking around town, I'm going to punch her in the forehead because cops ain't doing enough. Anyway.
I mean, nah, I ain't gonna say nothing.
Listen, don't you even.
I'm gonna go back on mute, man.
Right. The Lord brought me from a mighty long way. Anyway, but in that moment when I wanted to just start throwing people, I had to recognize, okay, hold on. Homie comes from an environment where this type of behavior is a thing that happens. Okay, cool. I check that. Then I have to connect with him. Bro, do you know this is wrong? Did you consider the consequences to your actions? Do you realize how nasty she is? Because I know you don't shower like that. That's nasty. So you with the nasty chick who's out here doing nasty things to a minor on the side of my house? That's public indecency, bro. Like, really? Let me catch you up on the reality of that real quick. I ain't hit him. I ain't yell at him. I ain't spank him. I ain't do nothing like that. I had to show him the reality of what he did. I had to show him the full reality. And I found out because he wound up catching mono from this nasty heifer, which of course you got that because she nasty. And that's what led to him finding out, oh snap, I'm not supposed to do this. Right? Little homie legend, that's nasty. She was twice his age. That's nasty. Don't do that. That's nasty. And no legend, he nasty. And she ugly too. And she nasty. So now I lost a train of thought. Basically, I'm saying when it comes down to what we consider soft parenting, no matter what the situation is, you have to connect with the kid before you correct them. Because you never know if the way you come at your kid could be something that drives them further away from you and drives them further from what you're trying to teach them. I had to meet him where he was, and I had to build on that. I had to connect with him. I had to show him the reality and the severity of what he's doing. And then I had to show him how to get out of it. So if he goes into a situation like that again, he has the means to get out of it. That's what gentle parenting looks like. So it's not about just letting kids get away with nothing. It's not just not having consequences. It's recognizing I have to find out what the root behavior is first. Then I have to connect with them. Then I have to redirect them, or I have to get them a way to understand how to get out of the situation. It's that simple. It seems like it's really hard, but once you get the concept, it's super easy.
Going D.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Again, behavioral science, and you allow them to work through the problem, process it, and then they get it right. And like you say, it's about making that connection. If I'm not connected to you, if I don't have if I don't have your attention, if I don't have your trust, the thing that I'm saying is penetrating. Beating on a child, they shut down completely. They don't learn anything. In that moment, you do that conversation. Yo, you could have get locked up. This is the disease. Boom. Yo, you don't got no standards. Come on, man. Look. And that's the conversation you have. My son, vaping, 14. Mom opened the drawer. She find a whole rack of vaping. Calls me freaking out. And what do? Yo, dude, what you think you do? You know what? My son, he's going to study political science next year. So what you do, you need to write me a 25-page essay on why this vaping shit, it don't make no sense. Go do some research. Let's go. That's how I dealt with that. Like, that's the only conversation you wrote the essay. Okay, good. You put in the work. You understand it don't make no sense, bro? We done? And that's it. What am I going to do? That gave me an opportunity to parent. You don't freak out. You don't lose your cool. You don't, oh, how could you do that to me? All that drama ain't necessary. We need to come out of our feelings, leave your emotions at the door. It's not about you. It's about that child. And how do I connect and get the message across? Because, of course, I'm not with you 24 hours. So if you don't understand this, you're going to still be vaping. This whole conversation would make no sense. So let's address this thing constructively so you understand how stupid it is.
Tosh, come back. Tosh wants to speak. He may be having some issues. We had a discussion in the Discord. So if you hear me, Tosh, please come back and you can have your time. Tosh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Great conversation so far. Peace to everyone on here, right?
Hi.
But you made a good point when you were talking about Japanese people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, from kindergarten up, there's videos from kindergarten up, right? Japanese kids are taught, valuable lessons. They're cooking in kindergarten. But you got to look at from the standpoint, you know what I'm saying? Like me, when I chastise my kids, right? And we talked about that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
First, I'll talk to them, set the boundaries and all that stuff. They break the rule. I take some away from them. Third time, I ground them. They break the rule again, then I'm going to spank them on their butt. But I still haven't heard nobody talking about, you know what I'm saying? You got to have discipline in your kid because we're like a different, you know what I'm saying? You got to chastise your kids, yo. Like, how many times young man, have you sat there and talked to your kid about a WWB or a DWB, a walking while black or a driving while black?
So pause. We've already discussed that. You probably missed it.
Again, I told you I was driving I was
I know,
driving.
but
You know what I'm saying?
I would urge you to rewind the show because the majority of the points that I knew that were going to come up, we definitely asked those questions and we had a nice discussion on them. But I will let you finish, and maybe Gabriel can just quickly go through what he mentioned earlier, for your sake
Okay,
anyway.
yes, ma'am. Okay, but like I said, when me and Juju and Chill were talking yesterday and stuff, I told them the steps I do with my kids. You know what I'm saying? They know the rules. You know what I'm saying? First, I talk to them. I take some away. Then I ground them. But if they continue to keep breaking the same rules, then of course I'm gonna spank 'em. But I'm not sitting there, you know what I'm saying, beating
Oh,
on
you
them.
about to get locked up.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. No, I set boundaries. You know what I'm saying? But sitting there on the flip side of that, their mother, you know what I'm saying, would always try to be like their friend. Kept talking to them. Kept talking to them. Even they were breaking the rules of the house. To this day, the kids respect me more than their mother because she kept just talking, talking, talking. And, you know what I'm saying? And didn't show no there was no consequences to the action. Now, provided when the kids hit puberty, I didn't spank them no more. You know what I'm saying? Because they knew where I stand with the house rules. So how you feel about that?
So a lot of times we do this thing where we confuse respect for fear or fear for respect. Um, and I also need just to know that when kids feel comfortable doing things with one person versus the other, it's usually because they feel safest with the person that they can act out around the most. And then they
Mhm.
act differently with the person that they fear. And so we
Okay.
think that that's a good idea. And of course, your kids can come to you and love you and all that kind of stuff. Sure, yeah. But
Mhm.
we also have to recognize, and this is why I need us to study child psychology, developmental psychology, because a lot of the stuff that you say is actually par for the course. But what also gets me is that when kids are little, I don't see where they would ever do things that would need them to get spanked for. I would say that if you were to spank, hmm,
Wait,
you what?
let me clarify my statement,
Mhm.
right? I didn't start spanking my kids until they hit middle school. Because you know
Hmm.
that in between age. I didn't, you know what I'm saying, start spanking my kids when they were in the elementary school and stuff. But when they hit middle school, you know, it was a progression. You know what I'm saying? To show them uh, discipline and stuff. It wasn't like they like 2 or 3 and spilling the bottle and I'm just, you know what I'm saying, going off on them.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah, yeah.
while I was driving, I heard you talk about the, you know what I'm saying, teaching them economics and all that stuff. I did all that. Their mother
Mhm.
didn't do that stuff. I'm the one that taught them about, you know what I'm saying, savings and all that other stuff. See what I'm saying? But I also had to put the discipline in it, you know what I'm saying, to show that I took them through the progressions. And then when they kept breaking the same damn rule, I'd rather put my spank their little butts than, you know what I'm saying, them go through life and then they wind up in jail or some other crazy stuff.
So I hear that a lot, but I don't know if we've ever looked at the statistics of people who got spanked and went to prison. It's 97%. 97% of inmates were
No,
spanked.
no, no. You look at the history of that, those are the people that get beat. I don't spank. You know what I'm saying? I don't beat my kids.
Spanked.
I didn't beat my kids.
No. Spanked.
There's no
Not beat, spanked.
difference in that.
I totally disagree with that.
I mean,
I
okay, so
totally.
that's your opinion, but when we talk about on a psychological level and there's research for it, there's no difference. You spank them, you beat
Yeah,
them.
but okay, Juju. Sorry, not to interrupt. But if you research how many of those people, they were probably still getting beat up into their teenage years. When my kids hit around the age of puberty, I did not physically put my hands on my kids. See what I'm saying? But if you look at the research of the serial killers and all those crazy people, they were getting beat up until they were like in their 18s and all that other stuff. That's physical abuse. I'm just talking about physical correction.
Taj,
Like I told you yesterday.
you have
Yes, ma'am.
individuals in prison that didn't that okay.
No,
So
you do have individuals that are wrongly convicted and all that stuff, but I'm just trying to stick right on the correction. Like I said, when my kids got to the age of puberty, I did not put my hands on them.
and that's
You know what I'm
great.
saying?
But my couple things. First thing, could you have disciplined them without putting your hands on them? That's first. Like if your ultimate is spanking, what eventually kids get to the point where they don't feel it anymore, right? It doesn't matter. Like my dad, he
Yeah,
tried to spank me when I was
trust me.
15.
Let him finish the point,
Mhm.
Taj.
He hit me when I was 15 with a belt, and I was just like, oh, this ain't nothing. Yeah, it hurt, but it was like, oh, I felt worse. Then he upgraded to punching, and then he wound up shooting me. So it's a slope. It's a slippery slope, right? I'm glad you didn't hit your kids past puberty, but here's what I'm trying to say. Kids are developing.
Okay.
What is another way that you could have corrected them without hitting them?
Again, I set certain goals in the house, but the mother of their children were doing that during the gentle parenting, talking to them like they were adults when they were children.
Were y'all separate? Is it a separate household,
Hear
like
me out.
co-parenting, or was it like together?
No, we were in the same household.
Okay, and so she's doing
I
one
said
thing and you doing the other thing.
exactly. Like say
Okay.
if I took something from the kids, you know what I'm saying? And because they did X, Y, and Z. While I'm gone, I come back, they're doing what I told them not, they couldn't do for the next couple of days. See what I'm saying? So now it's like the kids don't even want to talk to their mother because she tried to raise them like a friend. You're talking to a child like they're an adult. You got to set certain parameters. See what I'm saying? The ultimate
Yeah,
goal was not to spank the kid. See what I'm saying?
no, that's so okay. What you're describing is gentle parenting. What she was doing was permissive parenting. There is no way in hell if I tell you no, or if I've established a boundary, that I'm going to go back on that boundary. That wasn't
Brother, I agree with you, but I'm just saying,
right.
I don't
No,
want
I'm
to make it
saying
seem like I was sitting there walking in the house and drop kicking my
Taj,
kids or something
let
like
him
no,
that.
finish
no,
his point. Let him
I know
finish his
that.
point before you cut him off.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you are. I'm saying okay. So okay, you're saying that there was a lead up where you said this is the standard. The kids didn't do it.
Mhm.
You started had the conversation with them. They still didn't do it. You took something away. They still didn't do it. When it got to the point where they kept pushing past your boundary, that's when you went into physical discipline. Yes.
Well, you missed a step of grounding them.
Okay, yeah, grounding. So
Meaning
there
that,
was a lead up that led up to eventually when they kept pushing against your boundary, you went into physical discipline, right?
yep,
Okay. Mom was doing something completely opposite and was undermining what you were saying. Yes.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
All the time with every child, the family has to be on one accord. If there is any type of difference in there, no matter what you do, no matter what she does, the kid will be dysregulated because they don't have any sort of consistency. In situations like that, that's less to do with the kid, where I would stop disciplining the child specifically until I get whatever worked out with mom, because every family that I've ever coached, when they have a situation where there's co-parenting or one parent is on one wavelength and the other kid is on the other, or the parent is on the other, the child is going to act all kinds of crazy. That's not something you should. I wouldn't keep punishing the child past that, because they're only going to respond to the stimulus in their environment. And at that point, that's not fair. So I hear you. I see you. I recognize that you were disciplining your children. You were doing good. Yes, 1000%. I want to got up to the spanking, but yes, that still was an issue with mom, and that should have been handled before anything should have been doing with the kid. That's all I can say
Oh
about that.
no, I totally agree with you. We sat there and had conversations. She was trying to be more like a friend to the
Yeah,
kids.
that's
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
do that.
And you know what I'm saying? So it like undermined me trying to teach the kids the right way. And like even the kid, my kids today were like, "You were right," because I was the one that taught them about financial literacy and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My kids are doing really well. You know what I'm saying? They talk to me more than they do their mom because they look at her uh like she's their friend instead
Yeah.
of somebody that was actually trying to look out for them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I have dropped Gabriel's social media links. His email is in the description. So if you ever want to have a consultation or talk to him further, you can do that. If you missed the links, just replay the video when we're finished and you can pick them up out of there because there's lots of them, okay? I will say that. Maybe y'all continue the conversation and find some other ways to discipline. But shout out to Craig in the chat. You know Craig,
No,
Gabe.
Craig.
And we have Black Panther on the panel. So we're gonna wrap this up at 8. So Black Panther, it's all on you right now, sis. How you doing?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, sis. How you
Hey,
doing?
y'all. Hey, fam. Um, is it Dr. Gabriel?
No,
Just
it's just
Gabriel?
Gabe,
Okay.
Gabriel, black
Okay.
dude.
I disagree with a lot of things. I was at the point where Taj was, and my now ex-husband, we disagreed on, because he was more of I'm putting you on punishment. And I'm like, that's all you gonna tell him? But I whooped and spanked, and however y'all decipher that. And then it got to a point where they were like, I'd rather get my whipping than, you know, get on punishment. And then it got to the point where he would take things away, like okay, he can't play with his cars. But that wasn't his vice. Okay, my son's vice was wrestling. I took away everything that had to do with wrestling, including the TV. I took away everything. And when I spanked them, it wasn't for fear for me. It was fear to do it again. And I spanked them. I whooped them, whatever you call it. But to this day, I don't have a problem with my children. And I have a son and a daughter. They're 5.5 years apart. None of them, neither one of them, I'm saying, have never been in a problem with the law, any problems with the school, never been to jail. Because one of the premises of growing up in my house, you go to jail, because I'm not getting you out. I'm not sending none money to your books. That was understood because my parents didn't have to do that for me. So it was not allowed. You did bad or you got bad grades, and bad grades to me was anything after a C, and a C was pushing it. You couldn't stay out late. No, you couldn't, because that's my house. You're going to respect me. You're going to respect my house. You're going to respect my rules. Those were the things that were instilled in them. And I didn't just whoop them to whoop them. You know what I'm saying? But I tell them, I honestly called the You know how they have those little they're operated by the police, and they a group where you send the kids for as a boot camp. My son
Mhm.
got to the point where he didn't want to do what I say. I called a boot camp officer over to my house. I said, "You gonna go with him and do what he say, or you gonna stay here with me and do what I say?" That was his choice. I gave them choices growing up. They also got whoopings. And they'll tell you, and I don't care if they tell me, like my son told me several times, that don't even hurt. Why you doing it? Okay, but I bet you won't do it again. I bet you won't. And they didn't. And I want to say I am so proud of my children today. And I mean, they've never hit me back. I haven't been in, I got whoopings. I've never been in a situation where a man put his hands on me. A man can't even push me, look at me wrong without me with an attitude, and I'm up on it. Because I wasn't raised in an abusive household, and I don't think you have to fear someone to love someone or be with someone. You know what I'm saying? Do I sound crazy? I know I'm going on.
No,
No,
No, you don't.
hold on. I wanted to know if you had a question or anything for Gabe. You don't agree, but what is
I
it
don't
that you
agree
don't
with
agree
a
with?
lot of the things that have been said.
Okay.
I'm
So, um, another thing I wanted to point out is, with all due respect, what you're giving is anecdotal experiences. What the research speaks on is by the population. So it may have worked out for your children, but it doesn't work out for a lot of other children. They have adverse behavior because of it. It's not good behavior, and they have other issues. So the things we're speaking of today is based on statistics and research that have dealt with the population. You understand? Remember when we talking pseudokillers, we always say to people, it doesn't matter about your anecdotal experience, because in science, when they're studying humans, they study the population. Because anecdotal, that may sound good, but that wouldn't normally be the majority of people. That makes sense?
okay.
And that's not to discount your experience, but when we're talking about these issues and the negative outcomes, that's because by population, it's more negative than positive. Does that make sense,
Somewhat.
Gabriel? If you want to add
It just
anything.
sounds like the same kind of rearing I had with my mom. She was quick to spank. She tried to, do the punishment, lead up thing. Nah, she was quick to spank. And in that, it didn't do nothing. My grades were still trash, not because I wasn't brilliant or anything. I had ADHD and it was undiagnosed. And I struggled with that until like my last semester in college. And although I got my behind toe up by my mom and my dad on numerous occasions for very small things, nothing that they spanked me for followed me past that. I still have a quick, slick mouth that I polish often, especially if you read the comments on anything that I comment on my social media. I will read people to filth, regardless of who you are. If Donald Trump walked in here right now, I would tell his toupee off. So it didn't help. It didn't help with law enforcement. I've never had an issue with law enforcement, but it's also never helped our people with law enforcement. You can spank it. All the people who have been lynched, they've been spanked. It ain't helped them. Philando Castile, Elijah McClain, they got unalived, and I know they got their asses toe up too. So although it worked for you in that situation for that time, it's 2025, and we know that there's a better way to work with kids. And what I really want us to understand as a Black people is that this was not native to us. This was given to us, forced upon us, conditioned in us by Europeans who only wanted to see the destruction of our people. And although Willie Lynch is a forgery, the principles and concepts in it are still very much real. And we're still under the yoke of the plantation because we're refusing to let go of the whip. It served a purpose during slavery and Jim Crow. But in 2025, when we're moving into the promised land where more Black women are in STEM, are leading households, more Black men are involved with their families and actually trying to start businesses and lead, we can't have the same practices with our children. We have to be thinking of something different in order to bring them to the next level. So it's one of those things where now that we know different, we know better, we have to do better. We have to be doing differently from the framework. We have to be deconstructing from the framework of colonization to move into who we're supposed to be as a people. So with that, I'm glad that your children grew up and they have a good mom that cares about them, and you were able to give them the upbringing that you did. But now let's see those children do even better, and let's continue to think, what can we do differently instead?
Right.
We're at the end of the show. Before we end, though, I just wanted to offer Chilimwe or Cedric any final words.
Can I say thank you to him?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Gabe.
You are so welcome, Queen.
I'm out, Jojo.
I would like to
Thank you,
concur
Black
by.
Panther.
I would like to concur by saying thank you. This is a healthy conversation that is needed in our community for us to reevaluate how we do things. Some of us instinctively continuously check yourself. I'm a scientist by nature, so there's a continuous evaluation of how I'm doing things, which led to the evolution where I don't even necessarily raise my voice with my children. I mean, I work with both domestic and wild animals. And for me to develop a bond and a trust with a wild animal, raising your voice, hitting them, or punishment, quote unquote, is never going to lend to a healthy relationship. Consistency, reward good behavior, and taking away a reward or not providing a reward is punishment in of itself, right? But consistency is the key factor in parenting, and you mentioned that, and I appreciate that so much. And I also want to say, let me take a minute to do my little promo. Everybody, come on out this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time over on Paradigm Shift. I'm debating JJ. I don't think I need to say anything else.
You need to do another promo too.
Yeah, okay. Just let me know. I'm ready.
Yeah. Go ahead and do the other promo. Don't play, Cedric.
Don't forget the 26th of this month. Soy Kiata is going to be in the bill. The 21st, my bad. The 21st. Yeah. Soy Kiata is going to be in the building. Get your tickets. Can somebody put the link in the chat? Make your contribution. Come out and let's put the final dagger in this whole conversation. The community was complaining we don't have any Black scholars, and now we got the Black scholar with regards to this conversation. Come and get your genetics understanding, your anthropological understanding, and a definitive understanding of the populations of Northeast Africa. So Kiata is going to be in the building.
Yeah, he's an MD and a bioanthropologist. He has a couple of other disciplines, but
yeah. I mean, the size of the brain. Is the size of the brain of this gentleman you cannot fathom. He's an MD, he's an anthropologist, he's a geneticist. I mean, goes on and on. His citations are pages and pages and pages and pages long. I mean, we're showing what we represent in the community. I got to give a shout out to Juju and Ms. Tiff. When we understood what the PseudoKillas brand was and represented, we all went out there, did our work, and this is the fruits, our rewards, right? We got the top-notch scholar coming through on the 21st. Make sure you're in the building. Have your questions ready. We're gonna select questions from the audience, but make sure you're in the building. That's gonna be hosted by Juju and brother the God Killer himself. I can't wait.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite. And I just want to say this to the audience listening and pass this on. The link is in the chat. Please share the link. We are charging for this event. This should not be a problem. Most of us know and have been paying for events in this community because we are on the brink of the conscious community for $30, $50 to listen to pseudo information. So I'm going to gauge the community. You're going to tell me two things. Either you don't appreciate, respect, or care about Black intellectualism or education, or you do. The ones that show up, I'm going to know you do. The ones that don't, I'm going to know you don't give a damn and you can't come to me about nothing. Can't say nothing about nothing no more because I know where you stand. And once I draw that line, it's on and popping. That's all I have to say about that. Yeah. So let's show some respect to I'm thinking one of our living great Black intellectuals. Let's show some respect to them. This is why we're charging, because we want to show him some love and respect the way he deserves. Okay. When he goes and speaks, he's always given a stipend, even if it's a university or wherever, they're paying him, they're accommodating him for his intellectualism, his wisdom, his expertise. It should be no different here. People always have time to find the money for the things they really want. So if you care about high Black intellectualism, education, Black expertise, you need to be there. If you don't, the line is drawn. And now we know. Chilembe?
Yeah, I think it was an excellent show. I think some great information was put forth. Of course, this is a continuation of the Brain Show. So, we're big on the mind, the brain, its development, evolution, human behavior, and ethology. So, I think this was an excellent show, a good welcome back home. We back. PseudoKillas will be going live again more frequently after a break, especially after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I don't want y'all to think I forgot. I'm going to leave that out.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Raven fan taking the shot.
Okay.
Where's Miss Tiff? Where's Miss Tiff at? Where's Miss Tiff at?
No, don't do that to Miss Tiffany. But I did get my Jalen Hurts #1 jersey from the NFL shop. I ordered it the night of the Super Bowl and it got sent to old address, but I wore it yesterday. We were supposed to go live yesterday. Bobby Baker, but he didn't because I was going to show it off, but I may put it on later. This is my shirt, and y'all don't be funny, but this is my role model shirt, and this is who I mentor, and tutor for is Mr. and Mrs. Here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Gabriel also is in Volusia County. So he works in Volusia County. He serves this area and surrounding areas, just to let you know. But, if you're in another state or if you're elsewhere, he has a website. I dropped all his links in the chat. So please go back, rerun the chat and get those links. There's some good stuff. And don't forget Dr. Stacy Patton and her book. Okay. I will be getting that book and I will be reading that book. And I think we'll have some more discussions on the book on the Brain Show. So y'all look out for that. I'm not going to keep you any further.
Join the Discord.
I did put the link in the Discord. If you can drop the Discord link for me one more time, Miss Lisa, if you're out there, just go ahead and join the Discord. Okay. Let's get it on and popping. SpaceAgeAfrican. This is, Black intellectualism on steroids. This is what we're doing. Mr. Gabriel Hannas, my friend, it's so good to see you grown up so much. Grown up so much. Just a little bit. Yeah. Your knowledge and your expertise is on point. I can't wait to see you in another 5-10 years with it. I know you're going to have a book. You're going to be doing amazing things, but I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. This was on point. You were spot on, spot on. So I know we're going to have some challenges to some of the things we say. So I will be bringing you back, and we just going to have to go head with whatever it is. But I know you have the wherewithal to do that. And that's why I really wanted to bring you to the forefront, even though some people were skeptical, but I know you. So it was good. And I know your work. So I appreciate you. I was like, don't play with my friend. Okay. I had to vouch for you, and you did not disappoint. I just want to say that. So thank you from the PseudoKillas, and thank you for everybody who showed up and who supported this program, because I know this topic is very sensitive. Okay, it's a little bit of a hot topic. What the hell is that, JoJo? We ain't raising no soft cats. And I will say I'm very surprised, because there's lots of men. Either I'm super cute and y'all just love me to death, because it was nothing but men. I didn't see many women. I don't know if that's good or bad, but thank you to the men that came and listened and supported, and to the women. I think it was Lakota.
Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out.
And Lisa, which is the right button? The like button, Cedric?
The like button. Don't forget to hit the like button. You show your appreciation. It costs nothing. Hit the like button. It helps the algorithm grow. Since we're now coming back to get those notifications out there, we appreciate your support. We want as much likes as we got people in the chat. We appreciate it.
Facts. So say hi to him, Gabe. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you to everyone, and to the next time, we're out.
Black African power. What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie. A well-organized lie. It beats a disorganized truth every time.
A pseudo gon' die, they saw us. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. Pseudo gon' die, they saw us. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. Who do you believe in? People bringing misinformation when that information ain't disinformation. That's disinformation. Gotta know the difference in information. Get information with the pseudo killer army hunting pseudo. Cause you gotta train your mind to fight against them pseudo judo. People with the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those. Like telescope. And you speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro. What a proof for? Choo chillin', why you wanna go way bad? Choo Shalom boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa World plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come in Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy. Make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks, cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw us. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. Pseudo gon' die, they saw us. I'm a pseudo killer,